Here we go. You are now listening to Random Ramblings with Rob. Yay! Boom, boom, yeah! Boom, boom. Look at it. Boom, boom. Boom. Boom, boom, boom.
What up, everybody? I'm back. Man, damn, I fucked it up. I just did it a little while ago. And I ain't cutting it out. Fuck it. What up, everybody? This your boy B-Rob, and I'm back with another edition of the Random Rounds with Rob podcast. First and foremost, forgive me for fucking up. But secondly, thank you, the listener, for coming back and listening to this bullshit right now. If you're a first time listener,
couldn't have introduced us any better.
Yeah. And if you're a first time listener, I'm also extra very sorry for jacking all that up. And if anybody recommended you to me, I would say give them a crisp high five. But after that atrocious intro, just give them a fist bump. I mean, don't even soil the palms of your hands, but touching. Just give them a fist bump right now. Let me get my mojo back. Shit. Anyway, joining me once again after many moons of a hiatus from the Random Rounds of Rob podcast, the man, the myth, the legend, Kiefer Bartek. How are you, sir?
I'm great, man. The two-time being back on here. The Colossus of Clout. It's easy to say. 2-time on the podcast here with Rob. I'm excited to be back, man.
Man, it's been a long time overdue. I got to see you in the show, but it wasn't you. It was like you masquerading as somebody else.
What do you mean? What do you mean masquerading as somebody else?
So I think it was you, but you had a mask on.
Oh yeah, where was this at?
Griff's, I believe. So I mean,
oh man, that
it might have been you.
I don't know. That might have been me and Steen and all day. I don't really know who exactly those people were. But you know, I don't know if I don't believe they won that night or whatever the case may be, but
yeah, or
even the night I had the trophy or whatever the case. So
yeah, I don't even.
Man, that was pretty funny.
Yeah. So I mean, it is what it is. I had also another former guest of this show is JJ Blake, and from what I understand, y'all got a match coming up for the title, right?
Big match, man. It's the first time that I've ever wrestled for a singles title.
Mm-hmm.
First time I've ever wrestled in a singles match in Abilene, my hometown.
Mm-hmm.
And then against JJ Blake, you know, we go back a little bit. And there's, you know, no pressure on me to win this matchup against JJ. But man, like since the last time we talked, I mean, there's so much I feel like that has happened. I feel like
the Cool broke up and they got back together.
We broke up. We got back together. Started a wrestling company, or helped start a wrestling company. You know, wrestled for every kind of Texas wrestling promotion, working my way outside of Texas. I mean, and this JJ Blake matchup, man, this is the biggest matchup of my life, man. You could say the biggest moment of my life just because of all the circumstances surrounding it.
We're going to rewind and kind of move forward to that point. But
I know it's a lot.
Yeah, because you posted the picture a day or so ago. I seen it in Instagram stories, and I was torn because, I mean, you both my guys, man. You both been on the show or whatever. But to that same token, you know, I was torn at the time, but I'm not anymore because you're here now. So, you know, I'm
2 times.
Yeah, 2 times, and so I'm rooting for you. And secondly, I'm rooting for you because JJ Blake told me to shut up at that same show that I just mentioned.
Oh man, that's just typical JJ. You know, just always running his mouth. So I mean, I'll be the one to shut him up on June 22nd.
Word. And it was funny as hell because, like, I'm in the front row. I'm like, yeah, JJ. He's like, shut up. I was like, okay.
Whatever you say, JJ. We're okay.
We're good. But yeah, man. I've been tracking, been peeping in the window that is Instagram and whatnot. And since the last time you were here, I mean, I think you were down there at ROW doing great things and whatnot. I think y'all just moved not too long ago into that facility that's down there now, and you were just honing the craft. You was growing out the bun at the time, and you know, we just talked about a whole bunch of things, how you came into pro wrestling and whatnot, and now somewhat you're a journeyman and everything. You done branched out of the ROH dojo. I said ROH, goddamn, the ROW dojo, and
Hey, I promise not to take you backstage and intimidate you at this, Rob. All right.
All right, man.
You can say ROH, RW. You can heckle all you want. All right? I'm not going to take you backstage or anything.
I'm so sorry. I'm just.
But yeah, man, I've got out. I branched out. I've always wanted to spread my wings, and when you sit there at Reality Wrestling and you see some of the talent in Texas grow and to move on to bigger and better things like your Keith Lees and your Sammy Guevara's, other guys, Ray Rowe, that have moved on from Texas wrestling to bigger things. You just want to see what's out there. You want to see what promotions are out there with the talent. You want to cross paths with all those guys. And, I still think that Reality Wrestling has the best roster in Texas, but I've crossed paths with some amazing talent in Texas, worked for some amazing promotions here in the state of Texas. And, I just looking to expand even further than Texas now. I mean, that's kind of why I got into wrestling. You get to travel a little bit, you get to see a little bit of the state, a little bit of the country. And, it's all, it definitely gives me perspective in life of things that I get to see that I didn't get to see when I was younger. So I'm just blessed to be able to mix it up at certain places with certain guys and, just try to keep the ball rolling here moving forward.
Okay. And, and it's good to get out there, get your name moving around and getting that exposure and whatnot. But what has been some of the horror stories of actually getting out there and trying to travel and whatnot?
Traveling 25 hours one way to North Dakota.
Whoa.
With no give. There was a huddle house in Oklahoma that, I've been to some places where it's like the customer service was bad, but the food wasn't terrible, or vice versa, where the food was terrible, but the waitress or waiter was doing their best to make the best of the situation. But that huddle house literally was the worst of both worlds that I've ever experienced, and I don't recommend anybody in that. This sounds bad, but I don't remember where it was. Somewhere in Oklahoma. If you're in a huddle house, if you go to a huddle house in Oklahoma, just try to avoid them at all costs. But yeah, I mean, I remember I was traveling with Rob Barnes, Jason, Cam Cole, and myself back from North Dakota. So we already went 25 hours one way. Was in negative 10 to 20 degree weather for the most part. And then you travel 25 hours back in a car, with full grown, adults crammed in there like sardines. And you just, take turns driving, and then you try to sleep where you can. And then you get to feels like the last stop. You're like in Oklahoma. It's pretty close to Texas. But there's like 8 or 9 hours left still on the drive. And then you have the worst service and food of your life. And then, you got to make another 8 or 9 hour drive. So it was I'd say it was an experience. I don't think I would ever do it again. I do like flying now, so that's cool. Yeah. But yeah, man, we still talk about it today. It's pretty funny just how that whole weekend unraveled.
Now you talking about you had 8 hours left after Oklahoma, whatever. Like 7 of that was just going through El Paso.
Yeah, right. Yeah, no, seriously, it was. Texas is so big, man. It's just when you tell people how big Texas is that's not from here, it's almost mind-boggling to some people.
Yeah. When was the last time you had some Whataburger, man?
That's a good question, man. I think I had Whataburger after our last show in Hidalgo. the night before our last reality wrestling show when I went from Hidalgo to Houston. So I guess it's been like a month, maybe. I don't know, man. I think about it all the time. Have you tried the Dr. Pepper shake? I want to know. I'm not a Dr. Pepper man myself, but a lot of people are.
It's delicious. It's delicious. I had it. There's a Whataburger right down the street, and I seen the sign, and I pulled in. You got to get.
I want to try it sometime, man. I want to just. I'm not a Dr. Pepper man, but I'm down to try anything, especially from Whataburger, because nothing's really bad there. Everything's delicious, so I'll have to try it out sometime now.
Yeah, and I recommend it. It's pretty damn good. What's your go-to there? Like when you go there, they're just like, all right, if I can't think of nothing, there ain't nothing appealing. This is what I get.
Yeah, at Whataburger.
Yeah.
Oh, no, I get a number 2 with cheese, mayo, no mustard, no onions, no pickles with Powerade and a spicy ketchup. I mean, come on.
You guys got it all. Oh, man.
That's, I've had like exes that would be like, all right, well, I already know what you want. And then they would just recite it back to me. I'm like, all right, I'm doing my job here.
Oh, man. Like I said, the Cool broke up last time you was here or whatnot. Or they was moving toward the breakup, and now you're back together. What all led to that?
So we both had a singles run for a while. I joined Stevie Ray Incorporated for a good amount of time, when Stevie Ray was my manager. That kind of, fell apart. We had, in storyline, we had a falling out with Stevie Ray. Rob moved back to Australia. And so that kind of disintegrated. And then the timing just kind of felt right. We were tagging on the indies a little bit before that because we just felt we had a little bit more of a run to give. I think when we broke up the first time, or we broke up, we haven't broken up again. I don't know why I said that. It's like a messy relationship, it's just, it's good and it's bad. No, I'm kidding. I think we had only had like 8 or 9 matches, honestly, maybe 10. I mean, it really wasn't that much. It seemed like a lot because I think we had the promos and we had success early on and stuff, but we honestly didn't have a whole lot of matches. And so we were like, we're both like, well, we still have a lot to give, not only as singles competitors, but as a tag team. And, why not do both? That can benefit us. Some places we're a tag team, some places we're not. But, then reality wrestling was like, okay, well, let's go ahead and put these guys back together. It kind of was the catalyst to me cutting off my dreaded man bun, which I think I would say, like, people were like, well, it was for storyline, but I was so over that man bun maybe a year before we actually cut it. I would, go to Kevin and be like, hey, man, I think it's time to cut this man bun. And he was like, no, we'll hold off on it. So when me and Cam got back together, I said, hey, this might be cool. First time in wrestling history where someone gets a haircut and nobody turns on the other person. We just kind of like, yep, that's it. Now we're like blood brothers, man bun brothers or something. And, and then, we've been rocking and rolling ever since then, man. We've tagged at, Reality of Wrestling. We've wrestled for the tag titles. We wrestled in TLC matches. We've wrestled in Dallas. We won a tag team championship in Dallas. They're Metroplex Wrestling.
Yeah,
we tagged in Inspire Pro in Austin. We got a show in Beaumont. We're tagging against Pump Patrol in Beaumont. We're battling for another tag team titles for RWR and Stafford. We've just kind of been all over the place as a tag team and also doing our own things as singles competitors as well, man. I think it's almost like the Cool is almost like the Bullet Club kind of thing where, we can do our own thing and we can team up, man. We're just kind of a stable, a tag team. We also have Rachel Rose in there as well now. And, you get every kind of mix of us in a whole bunch of different places. So.
Yeah. Now, I think you just, prove me wrong if I am. Didn't you have your first cage match since the time you've been here last?
We had a cage match as a tag team against Team Death Bear. I don't remember. I remember it was sometime around the time we spoke. I don't remember if it was before or after, but I do remember me and Cam did have the steel cage match in February of last year, maybe.
Yeah.
I felt like everything was kind of run on top. But yeah, I believe it was February last year. And I hate heights, by the way. I'm just going to put that out there.
But you're tall.
So exactly, as people say, you're tall, you ain't supposed to be afraid of heights. Nah, man, I don't do roller coasters. That's not my thing, man. But you know, doing the superplex off the top of the steel cage and taking a super kick off the steel cage, and it was a fun match, man. I really enjoyed the steel cage match with Cam. I like steel cage matches now. I mean, I did the first time we worked, but when me and Cam worked the cage match, I really enjoyed it. So it's pretty intimidating when you step through and you look at the cage, especially if you're not a big fan of heights like myself. You get up there at the top, you're looking in the sea of people, and you're just like, man, how did I even get here? But it was fun, and it was a brutal match. I felt it a couple of days afterwards, but that's all part of being a wrestler. So
yeah. Now, let me tell you, I was in the Toyota Center, and Becky Lynch rolled up on Ronda and Charlotte on her crutches, and she waylaid both of their asses. And then I see the security run up in there, and I'm like, wait a minute. Is that who's that motherfucker with the flat top? And I was like, wait, I look up on the screen. I was like, God damn it, that's them. So I'm like, oh man, that's both of them. I was like, dude, and I'm sitting, my wife is there with me. She's like, who is them? Who is they? Who are you talking about? I said, that's JJ and Kiefer, man, that was on the show. And I was like, I was just flipping the fuck out. So, I mean, you got to indulge me, man. You got to let me know how all that came about. I mean, I kind of know, but then I don't know because I wasn't there. Man,
it's pretty interesting, honestly. The Thursday, I believe, before that, it was the Elimination Chamber pay-per-view. Kevin asked me and a couple other guys, hey, you guys want to go do some extra work? And I haven't done extra work since 2015 or something like that. I kind of been staying away from it, or kind of been working on myself as a wrestler.
Yeah.
But I was like, yeah, I could use the money. I want to go back up there and see how things have changed since I've been up there. And I remember getting there to the building, and it was pretty lax. I think, we went and did our physicals there. We were in catering. We went back to our dressing area, and we had all thought we weren't going to be doing anything that day. Usually in the extra roles you do, like No Way Jose has his little conga line. But when I did it before, I did it with the Rosebuds. So, we knew that No Way Jose wasn't going to have a match that night from the run sheet we saw. So we just all thought we were going to just be hanging out and eating catering and watching the show. I remember me and JJ were the last two to get the physical, so we went back into the locker room, getting changed to our dress attire. And then John Cone comes in there and is like, hey, you two, you guys come in here. So they gave us some security shirts and were like, hey, you guys going out like next segment. I mean, it was pretty like bang, bang, bang. Mm-hmm. You guys are going to be doing this kind of thing. And I remember asking Finley, it was the guy who was doing the agenting backstage for the segment. I was like, are you sure that we are not going to be hit by a crutch? I'm pretty sure I asked that like 2 or 3 times. I was like, so we're just going to go in there and apprehend Becky Lynch. And he was like, yep. I was like, all right. That's what, and when we, when she was swinging the crutch on Ronda and on Charlotte, and you're running out there and you're trying to, you get in the ring and she's still swinging the crutch. I felt like I was in the crossfire at that point in time. Like, what, if I get hit with the crutch, I get hit with the crutch. It just happens at this point, But it didn't happen. We did apprehend the man with no struggle. And it almost makes this like match with JJ a little bit more just a weird, like the windings of our careers have always kind of intertwined in a weird way of like stuff like that. Where, you know, we actually did travel to North Dakota too. He's the guy that helped me get on up there. And so it's just it was really a crazy experience. I don't think you ever get used to being in front of that many people. You know, it's just a sea of people that, you know, and it was cool, man. It was unexpected. It happened pretty quickly. You know, my social media kind of blew up afterwards. Like, hey, I know that guy. You know, people still message me now, like, hey, I saw you on Becky's 24 episode. You know, so it's pretty cool, man. You know, you're always gonna have clips like that to kind of look back on and be like, oh man, that was a cool point in my career. You know, especially if I make it. I mean, you could be like, oh yeah, I was a security guard at one point in time for a Becky Lynch segment when she was hot. You know, she was probably like the hottest person in the company at that point in time. Yeah.
And then, I mean, there's countless people that has come out of the Rosebud and the Conga line to be a thing. Strowman, one of them. And there's a couple other ones that I can't recall on the top of my head right now, but you are out there in that group, man. You can be up next, man.
Hey, I'm trying, man. It's funny that the first time I did the extra work in 2015, which was, I always tell people I had one match with Alex Reigns, and the next thing you know, Booker's like, hey, you're going to Raw. So the people who were in that particular Rosebud thing with me are pretty famous or have gotten pretty popular. You know, guys like Terrell Tempo, who's at Reality Wrestling now, who's a big name in Texas right now. That was when I first met him. Guys like Kenneth Johnson was on the Cruiserweight Classic. Shane Taylor is the Ring of Honor television champion right now. I love that guy. Sammy Guevara just did the pre-show for Double or Nothing. Yep. And then someone named Athena, Ember Moon, was also in that as well. So that was just out of my experience there. You know what I'm saying? There's, you know, there's probably that you could probably have something like that in every part of the country of people coming from the Rosebud lines. But yeah, man. And strangely enough, that's where I met Terrell Tempo for the first time. We actually wrestled in the ring in SmackDown before the SmackDown taping there that day. And he's actually the main guy that I started New Texas Pro with. As me and Terrell Tempo are the main people that are running that show. And so it's pretty cool and pretty wild to think back that that's the first time you meet somebody and you get along so well with them. And then, you know, next thing you know, you're like, we're going to run shows in our hometowns, and that's what, you know, we're doing now. So it's pretty cool, man.
Yeah. So you just gave me like a brief snippet of how, you know, all things came to be and whatnot. But what is that like, you know, setting up for shows and, you know, just running your own events and whatnot?
Stressful.
I can imagine.
It's you know, it was never really like a plan or was never what I wanted to do. You know, I always wanted to just be a wrestler. And then me, Terrell Tempo, and the other person who helps us, who helps run the show, Max Heights, who's a little bit lesser known of us three. We came together one time in a locker room, and we just really wanted to run shows here in West Texas, because that's all of our hometowns. You know, Max is from Colorado City. Terrell is from Loveland, which is right outside of Lubbock, Texas, and I'm from Abilene, Texas. And initially it was just supposed to be like, hey, we're going to run, you know, a show in our hometowns. And that's pretty much going to be the gist of it, but it's just worked so well, and I've gotten so much praise from so many promoters who've been doing this for dozens of years, or 10, 12 years, a long time pretty much in the state of Texas. It's really cool to hear that. I mean, I have so much knowledge that Booker T, that Bruce Pritchard, that Kevin Bernhardt, that have given me, or that I've taken from them at listening to them, that it's you get to add something good to Texas wrestling, get to add something valuable to my community and Abilene, to the other guys' communities as well. It's very fulfilling, I guess, to be able to give back to your community that you grew up in. I grew up in Abilene as a big wrestling fan. There's not really independent wrestling in Abilene. It just, since the territory days, it just hasn't existed. So it's really cool to be able to bring back quality pro wrestling to my hometown of Abilene. There's 120,000 people here, so it's not like it's always been a big wrestling town. When WWE comes to Abilene, they sell out the Expo Center here with 6, 7, 8,000 people there. So there's a wrestling community here.
Yeah.
It's just independent wrestling that's booming right now. I mean, you probably know with AEW and all these wrestling promotions that are independently owned, that are thriving, and everyone, you're able to make money on the indies now. So it's it just all it was like a perfect storm of something that happened. But it's stressful, it's fulfilling. Leading up to the shows, I'm really good at problem solving, so I try to do my best to just problem solve on the fly and get things taken care of. I mean, you really never know what's going to hit you on the show day, but afterwards, when people are happy, fans, they message you, say that was an amazing show. They come up to you after the show. Talent the same way. Hey man, when can I come back? It's all cool, man. It adds a different wrinkle of perspective of the whole thing of professional wrestling, for sure.
Word. And how does that translate to your solo and single tag team performances?
You get to look at what some, I get to talk to promoters now in a different light than I had before. I get to, I ask them, what do you want? What are you looking for? And now I have now I have that perspective to be able to whatever the promoter wants from us, whether it be singles, whether I'm a good guy, a bad guy, tag, good guy, bad guy, whatever the situation is, I know how to handle myself. I know how to go out there and make it, the best possible it could be. It's weird now, promotions that I've really wanted to looked forward to working for so long, like Inspire Pro, you got the promoter telling me, hey, we had this multi-man tag team match, make it good. So, and they put that trust in me. They're like, all right, go out there and do the thing. The TLC match we had at Row, they're like very heavily leaning on me to make the match happen. And, to get praise from stuff like that's really cool as well. It's, like I said, you just become a better overall performer when you get to see things. I also commentate now too.
Word.
It's another wrinkle of like, hey man, it's like people ask me, well, what do you think of my match? And I'm like, I was working. I'm actually sitting here trying to add emotion, tell the story in your match. Now, I wasn't really watching. I was more like making the match, telling the story that the best I can as a commentator. It's all a lot more than I anticipated getting into it and being like, all right, this is what, you're going to be a promoter. It's not going to be easy. You're going to be a commentator. It's not going to be easy, but it gives you that different outlook on wrestling in general. And it adds you get to be a more whole of a performer when you think from all aspects of wrestling, pretty much.
Yeah. Now, the commentary aspect of it, whatnot. I mean, obviously you're an active competitor and whatnot. You're in the thick of it all the time. How difficult was it for you to call actual moves?
I have a pretty quick wit, so it wasn't very hard to kind of find my niche as a commentator. I love spinning the narrative as a heel color guy, like a Bobby the Brain or a Jerry the King Lawler, or Corey does it sometimes. Corey Graves does it sometimes on WWE, but I think the hardest part of it all is to keep a crazy level of excitement the entire time that you're commentating, because when you're, 10 matches into a show and you're 4 hours deep into a show, and you've got to keep that, if someone hits a big move, you got to, sell it like, oh my goodness, I can't believe I've seen this move.
Yeah.
That was the hard part, keeping that energy through the whole time you're speaking, and you're commentating. That was tough, man. I did it a couple of times for heavy metal wrestling. The second time, I don't know if I was prepared to run the gauntlet of all the matches, but now, it's almost like watching tape as a wrestler. You're like, you listen to yourself and you're like, okay, I could do this better. I could do this better. You just take notes and you try to do better the next time. And, it's, like I said, it's, the energy level is challenging for commentary, not so much the moves. I know all the moves. I've watched wrestling my whole life. I understand situations and stories. So, but like I said, I was just surprised at how much energy you need, to be a good commentator. That was what got me.
Yeah. And I've tried it just like to practice, cause like, we do the wrestling show every now and then, and me and the co-host, we would do watch alongs, and we just pretty much pick a match, put it on mute, and we try to commentate and talk and throw facts out about the match or whatever. And what I would kind of find is like the dude that would do it with me, Jay Sandlin. I mean, he's a fucking wrestling buff. He's a historian. I mean, he can tell you all kind of off the wall facts and whatever about whatever match that we watching. So I kind of get into the frame to where I'm trying to call the moves and call the action in the match, and he's spitting facts at me, and I'm trying to comment and talk about what's going on in the ring and not cut him off and try to play off his story. It's just fucking weird.
That's the play-by-play is a little bit tougher, I think. I did a little bit for that for Sabotage, and it's weird balance of calling what you're seeing, keeping the story up, and speaking to people or speaking to whoever's on the commentary table with you in a open fashion. So it's like, how do you feel about this move, kind of thing, and keep the conversation open, as well as calling, look, it's a drop down leapfrog hip toss by so-and-so to go for the pin 1-2 kick out, but also keep the other person engaged as well. It's tough. I mean, it's, as I said, watching it my whole life, I knew it wasn't easy, but then you just do it, and it's challenging. I love challenges though. So hopefully, I get to do it a lot more. People say I have a pretty distinct voice. So that's good, I guess. But, yeah, man, it's, it sounds like you experienced the play-by-play part of it. It's challenging, man. It's tough. It's not easy. It doesn't matter how much wrestling you know.
Yeah. And then there's like, people call certain moves, a different thing or whatever. What the hell?
Oh man, that's tough too.
Why is there so many people doing the sling blade now, or whatever the fuck they call that move?
I don't know. I think
because Finn does it. I think
there's a few moves nowadays. It feels like a lot of people do on the indies, and like super kicks. I feel like everyone just throws a super kick now. And that was a finish for a long time. Cutters. I know Orton pretty much has it sewed up in WWE, but if you go outside of WWE, I mean, everyone does a cutter or a spear. That's my finish. It's funny. Someone asked me, "What's the name of your finish?" Yeah, it's just a spear. I got nothing special for it.
Yeah, the bun clip or something. I don't know. But now with that even being said or whatnot, I mean, it's just like I don't know what to call it. It's just like super kick used to be a finish. Now it's just like just as common as a clothesline almost. So I mean, to be an active competitor nowadays, I mean, what your innovation level has got to be like? Is just like, are you always constantly thinking about moves, or is just kind of like to tweak and modify your current move set? I
I am pretty creative with a lot of the stuff that I do. So it's almost like putting your own spin on certain moves or certain things. You know, I watch the product, and if I like something, I'll try to, like I said, I try to make it my own. But, you know, I try to come, you know, so many wrestlers, I think, focus solely on the moves. And I try to focus a lot on my character and the swag and things like that I try to bring to the ring. It's like you know, you kind of get it when you play sports of, you got to have that certain kind of mojo when you're on the field kind of thing. And that's what I try to do when I wrestle. I got to bring a certain type of mojo. I like to jaw jack with the fans, whether good or bad, but I just like to bring that, you know, me really to multiplied by 10 or 20 to the ring. I think that separates me from a lot of guys because nobody can really be you. I mean, so whatever you're feeling and thinking and doing in the ring, that's you. But, you know, that's what I really try to focus on now. So more so than I did, you know, in the moves, because I did focus on the moves for a while. I do tweak, modify certain things in my arsenal, but, and I'm always looking to add certain stuff, but, like I said, mainly nowadays I just try to concentrate on the mojo you bring to the ring.
Mm-hmm. I got you. I feel you. I feel what you're saying. How many? How much of inventory you got on them man bun t-shirts, man? I mean, you got a whole bunch of them just laying around.
No, man, they're gone. They are gone. People ask me all the time, like, "Hey, can you reprint these things?" And hey, man, those are limited edition. You get them when they're hot, and then, you know, when I see you wearing them, I give you a big hug and say thank you for supporting me back in the day when I had a man bun. So,
yeah, because I mean, I remember seeing that whole thing unfold or whatever, and it was just like the tease and everything. I was legitimately like, "No, don't do it." And then you was like, nah, I ain't gonna do it. You be like, getting ready to do it, like, "No, don't do it." And he was like, "Nah, I ain't gonna do it." And then it was gone. I was like, no. I don't even know why I didn't want you to cut it. I don't even know why I didn't want you to. But.
It was funny because I think initially we all had that. I mean, it had been such a catalyst for, you know, how, you know, people felt about me. It's, you know, that's what they identified me with. You know, when I went to the ring, it was the "Man Bun Sucks" chant. And when we did the poll the week of the show, it was like a 50-50 split. And it was like the biggest poll that reality wrestling had ever done. I mean, like that many people have voted and cared about it. So when I saw that, I knew the crowd was going to be split. And I just thinking about it all, I was like, you know, you know, people like to chant "Man Bun Sucks" at me. Mm-hmm. And it kind of was like an endearing, like, chant at me after a certain point, because it's like you just enjoy giving me a hard time, right? It's like the "You Suck" for Kurt Angle. Yeah, it's just kind of who I am, right? It's like, oh, man bun sucks. And so I think when people were like, oh, he might actually do this, like, no, hold up a second. We don't really mind the man bun. We just like to say "Man Bun Sucks" at you. You could hear the groans in the crowd of like, no, we don't want you to do it kind of thing. So it was pretty interesting. I didn't expect that kind of a reaction initially. I thought people would be happy to see it go. But like I said, it was almost like that endearing man, you know, I can't chant "Man Bun Sucks" at him anymore, you know? Mm-hmm. So it was kind of, it was really cool. I mean, like a lot of people there at the audience felt the same way you did, when it got cut.
Is there a comeback tour in the future, maybe, for the man bun?
It's funny because people ask me that now, and sometimes I'll just put my hair up where it's like, I think I can put a man bun up now. I might break it out once, you know, sometime down the line, just for shits and giggles, just kind of bring, you know, the comeback tour or whatever. But no, man, it was definitely what I was identified for at first, you know, first part of my career, but. You know, any good performer kind of evolves and moves forward, and that's what I'm trying to do now, trying to evolve to a different character. So it's, you know, it was fun, but and people still, say, "Hey, where's your man bun at?" It's been almost a year. So it's always going to be a part of my career. It's always going to be a big part of my identity as a wrestler. But as I said, it's just time to move on and time for a fresh start, I think.
Yeah. And then, if people keep asking for it, you can just get a man bun clip in or whatever. And then when you have your merch tables, you can sell like little mini man bun clips or whatever, so everybody can rock the man bun.
That I actually thought about that for a while, but yeah, that's still a good idea. I had the most ridiculous thing I think I've ever done in wrestling was I had a trophy case with a man bun in it.
Oh.
It was one of those clip-on ones, but I would carry it to these promotions and parade it around as if, it was something to be proud of.
Oh, yeah, just have it like in a little glass.
So ridiculous.
Just have it like in a little glass display.
Yeah, it was like a trophy case gimmick. And one show, I was facing Jay Sirius in a show in San Antonio, and he did a 619 to the trophy case as I was holding it. And it blew up, and that was the end of that. So, but it was fun, man. That was probably the most ridiculous thing. I'm carrying around a man bun. It reminded me of reminded me of Angle when he had his hair and he lost it, and he was wearing that stupid toupee with the
with the headpiece,
with the wrestler hat thing. Oh man.
Oh golly, that's a good belly laugh, man. But the matchup, you and JJ, man. What's your mindset going into the thing or whatever? You talk about the parallels between your career and everything, and just like you even saying that, it reminds me of the old the match that Batista and Cena had. And how they had to, I just remember the promo package of how they was talking about, he was the champion at this time, he was the champion at this time. And it was just showing the parallels between the two from they started to the current end. So like, what's your mindset going into this, man? How you feeling? What you doing to prepare?
Man, I feel like every person needs something to strive for, something that keeps their drive moving forward. Sometimes in wrestling you get a little lost of what are you doing? What are you trying to do? What are you trying to accomplish? And there's a clear set goal in front of me, and it's, to win the new Texas Pro Championship in my hometown. It's the first two times we wrestled Natalie and I wrestled with Cam as the pool, and but the crowd was just electric the whole time I was out there. It's like home field advantage, and it just gives me this drive to want to put everything that I have every single day into, this goal of mine. And I'm trying different things. I'm, working out with friends who own gyms here. Tomorrow I'm I'm scheduling a jiu-jitsu session with a friend who owns a gym here. I'm trying to break out new moves, new holds for JJ. I might go see my good friend Rex Andrews in Pathway Training and go train with him. Maybe he could teach me a couple of things. So legitimately, I'm going out I'm wrestling 3 times this weekend. Last weekend I wrestled 3 times. On Thursday, Friday, Saturday, pretty much until the show date, I'm going out there and I'm wrestling the best in Texas. And I put a challenge out to Heavy Metal Wrestling. I said, if you want to, I want to challenge the best here in Texas. And if you believe you're the best in Texas, come step up and face me at Heavy Metal Wrestling on Thursdays. And, facing Moonshine Mantell last week as the first open challenge was a pretty big stepping stone, I think, as someone who I wanted to work with. And every one of these matches, win, lose, or draw, gets me one step closer to the goal of being a better wrestler than I was the day before. And so, like I said, man, I have a clear goal. I'm gonna put on one hell of a fucking show from top to bottom. Every match from, Sue Young's going to be there. Tables matches, Mysterious Q versus Jerome Daniels. I mean, there's just, every match on the card from top to bottom is going to be amazing, but I want to be the best match on the card. I want to be, want to be in the main event. I want to be one of the matches that people will remember for the rest of their lives, whether it be a wrestler or whether it be a fan. And I have the goal, and I put in everything that I have towards it. And it's a different drive than you normally have as a human being. It's what every wrestling fan dreams of from the very first day that they ever start watching wrestling. Like, how cool would it be to wrestle in front of my friends and my family in a big match situation against a person that I love and I care for, but also a person I want to kick their ass. So it's I don't know how to put it in words, man. Like, I've done my best to do that, but it's a pretty big moment for me as a person.
Word, man, that was a lot of passion in there, man. You kind of got me welling up a little bit, man.
You got it.
But
sorry, you're like, this guy sounds crazy right now. I just asked about a match, and now he's going off on this tangent.
I don't know. I mean, I thought you was jonesing for the Whataburger, man.
Hey, man, that's after the passion I poured into this interview. That's after this, number 2. But
on the side note or whatever, I mean, we gonna push wrestling to the left a little bit or whatnot, man. What's been going on, personally or whatnot? I mean, you've been getting out to the movies. I mean, those slim windows of rest and relaxation, man. What is you getting into?
Man, I got to be honest. I mean, I haven't seen the Avengers.
Whoa!
I haven't seen Captain Marvel. Pretty much, man. I've just, if I want something to be successful, like a New Texas Pro Wrestling, not only do I have to build stories for myself that make sense. I'm building social media for, Mysterious Q. For Rachel Rose, for Roxy, for JJ Blake, for everybody that's on our show. I have to do my best as a person to, as a promoter, to promote that person and make them look like $1 million. And like, I probably watched more YouTube in the past year than I think I've watched my whole life.
Yeah.
Because I'm just so interested in trying to, hey, I don't know how to do this. Okay, well, guess what? There's YouTube. So I'm sitting there, until 3 or 4 in the morning, knowing that I have to go to work in the morning, watching a YouTube video about how to properly hashtag on Instagram. It's just, it's a crazy thing when you get so tunnel vision of wanting something to be successful, that the fact that, like, I haven't seen the Avengers and I want to so bad. It's just like, I just know that if I spend that 3 hours watching the Avengers, which I will. I mean, I plan on watching Captain Marvel. I might just watch that tonight on demand or something. But
yeah,
it's just crazy, man. Like I all the free time that I have, I'm not at the gym. I'm not working out. Not trying to get better as a wrestler. I'm there trying to get better as a promoter. It's I did watch Game of Thrones, and that was one hell of a season. I don't know if it's good or bad. It depends on who you talk to, but I thought it could have been better. Mm-hmm. I thought it felt rushed. I don't know if you're a Game of Thrones man yourself,
yeah.
But it wasn't the last season that I wanted it to be.
Yeah. Well, they already talking about doing a prequel series and some other spinoffs and whatnot. So, I mean, you get a little more of what you're looking for.
Yeah, no, it was funny whenever, I think probably like season 4 or 5, I was like, what would be the best spinoff from this would actually be the prequel that had like the Mad King go crazy and how everything set up to where it was today. And then you hear it now, they're like, okay, this is going to, but that story in itself was going to, it seems very interesting of how did everything get all snafu with, the Lannisters at the top, Robert Bannister and then, Cersei. How did it get to that point? That would be a cool, and maybe get to see a little bit more of Ned Stark in his prime.
Yeah.
That would be a really cool story, I think.
Now, and that's another thing, and we was talking about this not too long ago. Not me and you, but me and some other people. It's just like,
yeah,
when people making these stories and whatnot, like Lord of the Rings and all this other stuff. I mean, there's actual source material there, and there's actual, like a timeline. There's the prequels. Like Lord of the Rings came out, they did those 3 films, and then they came out with the prequels, The Hobbit. So I was like, the Hobbit material was there already. I mean, why they just didn't start there, then work their way up to the present? Why is they fucking skipping around and everything? Star Wars, they had 3 movies, and then they went to prequels, then they went back to the other end and all shit. Why is nobody making complete goddamn stories is what I'm trying to figure out.
I don't know. I think it's one of those things where, I know that Star Wars, for instance, was like, well, this is our money. Episode 4, 5, and 6 is, hey, if episode 4 doesn't catch on with the U.S., then we're just done. Like, hey, let's just throw it out the way.
Yeah.
All right, that was fun. It was a nice try. As far as other things like Lord of the Rings and how they hop around and stuff, I mean, I feel like they have that one central story that, like, this is going to be the money-making story, and then once it sets off, it's like, well, I was also thinking about, this is also kind of part of the whole story as well. So I don't know. It's a little weird. I know that the last 2 books haven't even been written yet.
Yeah.
So I wonder if they were waiting for the TV show to go through and be like, well, that didn't go the way I thought it would. So let's try this way. I wonder if that's a little bit of the case with those books. I'd imagine probably whoever picked it up at HBO probably wanted that particular storyline, starting with Robert Bannister and to Bronn the Broken, to be the story. So
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it did so well. Spinoffs are kind of hit and miss. You hope. You have a Frasier kind of spinoff that's actually good, as opposed to, I don't know, the millions of other spinoffs that have been terrible.
Yeah. And if it land on Fox, they ain't scared to cancel that shit in a heartbeat.
Oh yeah, Family Guy had a bad episode. I remember watching Family Guy when it first made the first run with the PJs. I was a big fan of both those shows.
Oh Lord, the PJs.
I always tell people, I was like, you remember the PJs? And people are like, no. And I'm like, that hour of Fox was PJs and Family Guy. And that was like one of my favorite hours of TV when it was the short-lived time it was on Fox.
Mm-hmm.
And, obviously Family Guy made the come up and came back too. But, PJs is kind of like people barely remember that cartoon. So,
yep.
Probably not as good as I remember it being as a kid, but I really enjoyed that one, probably more so than Family Guy.
Yeah, I mean that was Eddie Murphy project.
Yeah,
and that was weird just to see him
voice like half the people.
Yeah, and it was weird to we didn't see him, but we heard him. It was just to have him in a weekly format, outside of movies and shit. It was just like weird as hell. It is, man. As you just go back and think about it, it's like, especially because you really don't hear or see from Eddie very much anymore. But I mean, from when he came from like Raw and then stand up, and then he did with was it Making It to America or Coming to America? Yeah, you see him as like these big blockbuster comedies, and then to go from like that to TV to just not being around. Exactly.
I miss Eddie Murphy. I used to think he was one of the funniest dudes of all time.
They had a tribute show that they did for him on, I forget what channel. It might have been Comedy Central or, something. But they did a tribute show to him a couple years back. And he just did not look amused at all. He's just like,
Yeah.
And it got down to the end of the show, they did all these tributes. People did impressions and, remembering Eddie Murphy doing it all. And they gave him the microphone to say some words. He's like, I'm a bitter old man and this and this and this. And it wasn't even a full, 2 minutes that he said what he said, and he was done, and he just kind of walked off. And I was like, wow, that was not cool.
That's probably why he's not doing much anymore. It's probably because he's that feels that way. I mean, it sucks to see him like that because he's so instrumental, I think, in a lot of people's lives from the 80s and 90s.
Yeah, and I think the last thing he did was Mr. Church. And that movie came out in, I'm IMDb it as I say it, Mr. Church.
I mean, it seems almost like the Dave Chappelle syndrome of like, you know, maybe he didn't ever feel like he was going to be better than what he was at a certain point, and he just got tired of, you know, hearing about the same old stuff from 20 years ago and disappeared from the world for a while. And then, you know, now he comes back a little bit, you know. I feel like his stand-ups now are just more of him just talking.
Yeah.
As opposed to him telling punchlines. But I think that's probably a lot of what Eddie was, you know, people, oh man, when are you going to do something like Raw again? Or when are you going to, you know, do another fucking Coming to America or something like that? Where it's like, oh my God, have you not watched anything I've done the last 10 years kind of thing?
Yeah. So like I'm on his IMDb, and the last thing that he's done was in 2016, and that's Mr. Church, the movie that I just said. And now, you know, I go to up and coming projects and everything, and they got in development Beverly Hills Cop 4, and then there's Untitled Grumpy Old Men Project. Then they got a movie that said is in production called Triplets. I don't know. It got something to do with Shrek, look like. Oh, no.
Oh, yeah. I heard they were going to bring back this.
No. It's Triplets, as in, you remember the movie Twins with Schwarzenegger and DeVito?
Yeah.
It's Triplets with them two and Eddie Murphy. So that's awesome. That's supposedly in production according to IMDb. Then 2019 is Dolomite Is My Name. He's supposed to be playing Rudy Ray Moore. And then in 2020 it says Coming to America, Akeem. So
there you go. There you go. When are you going to make another one? 2020. Quit asking. You know, a movie that I saw of his recently that I love, I haven't seen it forever, was Life.
Yeah.
With Martin Lawrence. Man, that movie is funny. God, I love that movie.
And that was one of the things too, to where I think at the time they hadn't even done anything together previous to that. And it was just like, oh man, we getting Eddie Murphy and Martin Lawrence in one movie?
Ooh, yeah, man. That I remember it being having that buzz around it because both of them were hot at that time. Mm-hmm. And it was funny because you said the grumpier old man, and I was just picturing him as that old man and doing the upper room. I was like, you know, I can see that, man. I can see it. So, man, I quote that movie all the time, and people really don't get those references too much. So I kind of just toned it down. You know, I don't do my Bernie Mac from that movie either. So.
Yeah, man, we pushing the line back, dog. It's just like I can talk about this one movie, and there's people that hadn't even been alive when this movie was like popping and shit.
I know, it makes you feel old. It's like, oh man, you're right, that did come out in like 90, you know, something, and they're like, I'm not even born at that time.
Yeah, and that's even weird to say that. Man, you were born in 90 what? Shit.
Oh yeah, I mean, I was born in 89. I mean, so
yeah,
I don't really remember the first part of the 80s, but I mean the 90s. But I mean, people probably don't even know. There's probably people who don't even know who Martin Lawrence is. You know, and like as popular as Martin was on Fox when we were younger, and all the movie success he had and stuff, and like, he hadn't done anything in so long. You probably don't even. A lot of people probably don't even know who he is.
Yeah, I mean, then and you know, for too long, man, there's gonna be a generation of wrestlers that you know people ain't gonna even know. You'd be like, who is that old motherfucker? You'd be like, oh man, you don't know who that is.
Man, I had a conversation with a wrestler recently. It was like, didn't know who Marty Jannetty was, and I felt offended. I was just like, hold on. There's always a Shawn Michaels. There's always a Marty Jannetty. You don't get that reference?
Yeah. I was like, man, if anything, if you don't remember, you know, buku about Marty Jannetty, you know about that barbershop window. All the rockers.
Right. I mean,
you know, but like, damn, not to know him, period.
I felt if I was like personally attacked. I was like, come on, like. It's not like he was like a big deal or whatever, but I mean, or famous, I should say famous after, all that happened, but it's such a like monumental part of like every tag team, since then is like, oh, who's going to be the Jannetty, who's going to be the Michaels kind of thing. And so that's just kind of crazy that people don't even know who he is or even his, run is with the Rockers or the whole barbershop window. And it's just baffling. I don't know, man. I don't want to talk about it. I'm getting upset as we speak about it.
the Rock and Roll Express is still out there and kicking it, man. I'm like, what the fuck? I thought them motherfuckers was dead.
Hey, man, they can lace up a pair of boots. I promise you those guys are going to be in the ring for the rest of their lives.
Yeah, and they doing well from what I've seen most recently. I was like, man, go ahead. Go on you. The only person that I can say,
Tom hit a Canadian destroyer.
Yeah, I seen that, and it blew my goddamn mind. I almost flipped out of the chair like he did it to me. but
yeah, man.
But I would tell you one person that need to stay their ass at home, and everybody who's listening to this show know who the hell I'm talking about, and that's the goddamn Undertaker.
Yeah, man. I remember watching that main event with Roman at. Was it 33? Yeah. I don't remember.
The only one in the past 5 that I haven't been to in person. So it had to be that one.
And I was so depressed with that 8-minute match they had. And Figure looked like he was lost. I was like, man, I love you, Undertaker. Time to hang him up. And then you got Goldberg and Undertaker this Friday. I'm just, brother.
Yeah, I was like, man.
Please let it in. I think, who did he work the last match he had? It was not the tag match, God, no, not the tag match. Who was he working a singles match recently? Is it the last?
I don't know. I just kind of block it out of my mind.
I do too, man. I just remember the last one he had was a decent, I felt like that was like an okay one. Hey, man, that was it.
Yeah, well, they had New Orleans where him and Cena did that brief exchange.
I was even okay with that. I mean,
yeah,
whatever. Just get out on the top over Cena. You just hang him up.
Yeah, I highly was upset about that in New Orleans. I was there, and I got a 12-minute YouTube clip on my YouTube page of me just yelling at the Undertaker the whole goddamn time, just like, go away, stop. The whole damn time.
No, man, I mean, at least it was a short match, and he looked to be in better shape and better in the ring. Mm-hmm. But I mean, I'm with you. It's funny, Shawn Michaels. I felt hung it up too early, and I feel like Taker's just just refusing to call it a day. I mean, I love Taker. I teared up whenever he left his boots in the ring or gloves or whatever it was. And yeah, man, I just think it's time.
Yeah, dog. Don't even get me started on that, because even my wife know because that damn match with Roman, I did shed a tear in front of my motherfucking wife. Made me feel like a bitch, and and that motherfucker came back again after that, and I was so fucking upset, man. Yeah. And then they showed, I was in the room with my wife. I was folding up laundry. I had wrestling on the TV, and they said it was some other shit. I think it was the time that he was coming back for the tag match and all the other shit that they was doing. So yeah, they flashed that shit on TV, said he was going to have a match. My wife looked at me and seen the vein pop in my forehead. I mean, whatever clothes I was folding, I was like fucking balling that shit up in my hands and shit. I was just like, what the fuck is going on? Man, she knew I was hot.
Man, I blocked that tag match out of history of wrestling because, as far as I know, Shawn Michaels retired at WrestleMania 26, and yeah, man, that match didn't happen in my playbook.
Yeah, I never even watched it. I didn't watch it.
You're doing yourself a favor. It was awful.
Oh God. Oh, and it just even. Whatever. Fuck it. Yeah, everybody got my 2 cents. I don't even want to talk about it anymore. But
yeah.
Hopefully it's not another year or two before you come back and visit. But beyond, let's put a 2-year cap on it again. But
Okay.
what's the goal now? I mean, you got the promotion in the wings or whatnot. You doing things. You're making great strides to be the best promoter that you can be. You are making strides to be the best freaking professional wrestler you can be, single or tag. So, I mean, is there anything else on the agenda for one Kiefer Bartek?
Do you remember what I said the last time I was on there? I'm interested if you know what I said.
I can pull it up. No, because I mean,
it's fine. I gotta go. I gotta go listen back because I'm interested in what I said. It's just crazy how far you come in 2 years. The cool thing about being a promoter and a wrestler as well is you get to open up the doors for a lot of wrestlers, a lot of your friends. And don't get me wrong, I have my aspirations and dreams to make it to the next level, but I think there's people in Texas, who are my friends who are ready to take that next step now.
Yeah.
Whether it be a Mysterious Q, whether it be a High-On, JJ Blake, Terrell Tempo, Cam Cole, guys like that, at the cool of the tag team who are ready to step up. The thing that's cool for me is that I get the chance to bridge gaps and open doors for people because, I get a chance to talk to other promoters outside of Texas and say, hey, I can come work for you guys. Maybe you can get a couple of my guys on as well. And then, in turn, maybe you can send a couple of guys down here to Texas and or we can use a couple of guys here at Texas and wrestle some of our guys down this way. So it's like a win-win for everybody involved. And, I want to be able to open these doors and bridge these gaps for these guys and these girls who, like I said, I feel like they're ready and that the next step for them is to make it out and to work these other, wrestle in these other places. I'm talking to somebody there in Seattle. Yeah. Alex Raines is out in Denver. I know people in Chicago, and we plan on using talent from all those areas as well in our promotion. But the cool thing that I get to do as a promoter, I'll probably get to go visit those places this year. And not only that, but I'll, be able to get, guys like Mysterious Q and JJ Blake, and other people who help us at New Texas Pro to those places. So it's like, wrestling is a lot of perception. You get to see people, when you see people wrestle in different parts of the country for top promotions, wrestling these top indie names, they start to get a little buzz about themselves and they start to get a little bit of traction. And that's what I want to try to do for myself. That's what I want to try to do for a lot of, these people who are helping me, who I think are ready now. And anything I can do to help these people who've helped me and helped New Texas Pro, man, it's definitely a something that I didn't have before reality wrestling. And it's something that is important to me, not only to give back to my community with talent from all parts of the country, not just here in Texas, but a chance to bridge that gap for our own talent to go work these places against the top independent wrestlers in the country to show, look, like, hey, man, Texas is where it's at right now. We're a booming spot, and we got the best talent here. And I believe that still to this day. And that's really my goals for the next couple of years, man, just to branch out, to meet as many people as possible, to wrestle for as many companies as possible in different states, and just to keep killing it, man. It's not a race, it's not a sprint, it's a marathon, and that's where my thoughts and my efforts are going to right now.
Man, and I can appreciate the sentiment, man. You got a big heart, bro, and I appreciate you for sharing. And I hope you get everything that you're looking for, dude.
I appreciate it, man. I appreciate you having me back on.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to get to around where you are in person so I can get you that number 2. I'm gonna just slide it in the ring while you're having a match and shit, and you can just bust somebody over the head with the fries or something.
That you're gonna make me end up losing the match. You know,
You're like, what?
you're gonna have me distracted for a second. You're gonna roll me up like 24/7 rule, and I'm like, hey man, I am happy that I get this number 2, but I also lost this match.
Yeah, you got the number 2, but he got the number 3, right?
That's right. 1, 2, 3, brother.
Yeah, but hey, man, before you ride out and everything, let everybody know where they can find you on social media, your promotion, all your crew and staff, whatever, man. Just let them know where they can get you at.
You can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Kiefer Bartek Pro. You can find my promotion, New Texas Pro, at New Texas Pro on Instagram and New Texas PW on Twitter. Terrell Tempo, Max Sites, they also help me out. JJ Blake is the champion for the meantime. You can find him at Double J Blake.
For the meantime.
Yeah, man, I could in the meantime. Yeah, man, there's so many people that help out with the promotion, but if you just follow the promotion, give it a chance, man. It's I like to say a lot of what we're doing is a lot of what AEW is doing, and just trying to do wrestling the right way. And it's just give us a chance and check us out, and you'll enjoy it, man.
Word. And as always, with any guest that's been here, doors are always open for you to come back. I mean, and you did come back. So, I mean, I guess I left the door open long enough, right?
Hey, brother. Hey, if there's a door open, I'm trying to come in. So we're going to do this a third time. When I get signed, and you're like, hey, you said you come back when you get signed, I'll be here. For sure, man. And I appreciate that. And that was the homie Kiefer Bartek. And, it goes to show you, like I was mentioning on the last episode, that there's definitely a 3R bump happening right now. A 3R show bump. You come on the show and you become successful. Look at the proof. Alicia Toot signed to AEW. Freaking Chris Van Vliet signed to AEW. Josiah Williams, WWE. So, now your man here can go from being a independent wrestler to freaking promoting and putting on his own shows. So tell me there's a 3R bump going on here. So if you got some dreams or ambitions, come on the show so we can get you that much needed bump you need. More evidence. Black Rambo came on here with 86,000 followers. Now he's sitting at 500 and something thousand only after he was on this show. I'm just throwing it out there in the world. Maybe this is a real thing, but I just wanted to put that out there for my sake. Much success to everybody that I mentioned. Much success to everybody that has been on the show and whoever will be on the show, because you deserve that push, whether it comes from me or just off the whims of your own stick-it-to-itiveness, if that's even a thing, or your own drive and motivation. So speaking of drive and motivation, I just motivated myself to drive back from Louisiana, and I'm just touching down, chopping this thing up for y'all. Hope you enjoyed the episode. And a couple of announcements. October 18th through the 20th, I will be at the Fandemic tour that's coming through Houston at the NRG Center, which is what I just said, October 18th to the 20th. So check your boy out there. Then following that, November 2nd and 3rd, I'll be in Atlantic City, New Jersey for the J1 Con. And then to follow that, we'll be right back here in Houston for the freaking second annual HTown Podfest, which I am very excited for, to see the homies in the HTown. And you might think like, man, why you gotta do Podfest just to see your homies and everything? Because Houston is its own planet and motherfuckers are spread out all over this bitch. And I historically tell it on the show. I have a brother that live here, and it takes me an hour from my house to get to his house. Damn near an hour. And we live in Houston, both of us. So there you go. But yeah. So look forward to those things. You get some social media posts on there. I'm lacking on the Instagram this weekend because, as I said, I was in Louisiana this weekend with family, having some drinks, chilling out, hanging and whatnot. But, now I'm here doing this. But
As always, you can follow me on Twitter at It's B-Rob, ITSBROB. If you want to talk professional wrestling or any other general shenanigans, that's the way you do it. This show that you're listening to right now is also on Twitter at 3R Show. You can follow me on Instagram to where I walk the hollowed halls of Walmart. And you can also find anything else pertaining to the show on randomrobcast.com, where you can also find ways to support the show, where it be merch, donations, whatever have you. All the information is on randomrobcast.com, but you do not have to spend a dime of your money to support the show. The most important way that you can help this show grow and any other podcast that you listen to is by writing 5-star reviews, or a review for that matter. You know, anything 4 stars and below, leave some constructive criticism. Like, share, retweet, make your friends listen so they can get that crisp high five and everything. So on that note, you've heard all the things. Look for me in person, live in many areas. Also, I think August 31st, be at the Starlight Southern Star Brewery in Conroe, Texas. August 31st date. Well, I already gave you the date. Times will be determined. So just listen by, check the social media that I already gave you, and come hang out, have a good time, drink some burr, and see how the burr is made. I'll see you next time.